A lone driver's routine night shatters when a dog's urgent bark leads to a life-changing rescue. Welcome to Pause Verve. Like and share this story, and subscribe this channel for more heartwarming stories. Noah Carter leaned back in the driver's seat of bus number 22, the engine's low hum a steady companion as he navigated the quiet streets of Willow Creek. The dashboard clock glowed 11:20 p.m., marking the final stretch of another exhausting shift. The northernmost stop, a lonely bench under a flickering street lamp, waited ahead, shrouded in the night's damp mist. Noah's life was a cycle of repetition, each day bleeding into the next like the faded white lines on the asphalt. His apartment 3 miles away was a sparse sanctuary of bare walls, a single armchair by a drafty window, and a fridge holding little more than a carton of milk and a half-eaten sandwich from the day before. He preferred it that way, uncluttered, predictable, safe. The world beyond his bus window moved at a sluggish pace, the kind that dulled the edges of ambition and made you forget what it felt like to want something more. Passengers were scarce this late, mostly night shift cleaners or weary travelers too drained to speak. Noah welcomed the silence. It was his armor, his refuge, a wall between him and a past he'd buried deep. 10 years earlier, his sister Lila had died in a car crash, her laughter silenced in an instant, taking with her the last thread of a life that once felt whole. Now at 38, Noah was a man who drove in endless loops, ferrying strangers to their destinations while his own remained a distant, unreachable horizon. The streets of Willow Creek were his map, every curve and stop etched into his memory, each one a quiet marker of time slipping away without purpose. He eased the bus into the final stop, the brakes sighing as the vehicle settled. The street lamp above buzzed faintly, casting a sickly yellow light across the cracked pavement. No one stood waiting. No one climbed aboard. Only the wind whispered. Through the empty lot, carrying the faint scent of rain-soaked earth, Noah glanced at the rear-view mirror, the empty seat staring back like a mirror of his own solitude. He exhaled, ready to close the doors and drive to the depot. Another shift done, another night survived. His hands, rough from years of gripping, the wheel rested lightly on it, a symbol of a life spent moving forward without ever truly arriving. The vending machine across the lot clicked softly, its hum blending with the town's quiet heartbeat, steady, tired, unremarkable. Noah's gaze drifted to the dashboard, where a faded photo of Lila was tucked behind a plastic sleeve. Her smile, bright and frozen in time, was a bittersweet anchor, a reminder of what he'd lost and what he'd chosen to avoid. Connection, risk, the raw ache of caring too much. He didn't dream of more, not anymore. The bus was his world, its rhythm, his pulse. Willow Creek, the only place that didn't demand he be anything beyond what he was, a driver, a shadow slipping through the night. The town itself was a relic, its once bustling textile mills now shuttered, its main street lined with boarded-up shops and memories of better days. Noah knew every corner, from the old bakery where he sometimes grabbed a stale donut to the park, where kids no longer played after dark. His life was small, contained, like the bus he drove, always on the same route, never veering off course. He'd grown used to the weight of it, the quiet that settled over him when he locked his apartment door each night, the way the world seemed to hold its breath when he was alone. The other drivers at the depot called him steady, reliable, the guy who never complained, but Noah knew the truth. He wasn't living, he was existing, moving through the days because stopping would mean facing the emptiness Lila had left behind. He reached for the door lever, his movements automatic, muscle memory honed by years of repetition. The night air was cool, seeping through the open window, carrying the faint rustle of leaves from the trees lining the lot. He paused, his fingers hovering over the lever, a strange unease stirring in his chest. The silence felt heavier tonight, not the comforting kind, but something expectant, like the moment before a storm breaks. He shook his head, dismissing it as fatigue, his eyes scanning the empty stop one last time. The street lamp flickered, its light stuttering across the pavement, and for a moment Noah thought he saw a shadow move just beyond the glow. He blinked, chalking it up to the late hour, his mind playing tricks after too many nights on the road. The bus groaned softly as he shifted in his seat, the leather creaking under his weight. He was ready to leave, to sink into the familiar routine of driving back, clocking out and collapsing into bed, where sleep would come in fits and starts, interrupted by dreams he'd rather not remember. But as his hand touched the lever, a sound cut through the stillness, sharp, alive, not the wind, not the machine, but something that made his heart stutter. It was a bark, urgent, piercing, coming from somewhere just beyond the bus's headlights. Noah froze, his breath catching, his pulse quickening for reasons he couldn't name. The night wasn't done with him yet, and deep down he sensed that whatever waited out there was about to change everything. Noah Carter's hand hovered over the door lever of bus number 22, the sharp bark slicing through the quiet of Willow Creek's northernmost stop like a blade through fog. The clock read 11:23 p.m., the air heavy with the scent of wet pavement and distant pine. The sound came again, louder, insistent, a border collie's cry, raw and urgent, from just beyond the bus's headlights. Noah's pulse quickened, his eyes straining into the misty darkness where the street lamp's yellow glow barely reached. The dog stood there, small but resolute, its white and black fur matted with rain, eyes locked on Noah with a focus that felt almost human. It scratched at the bus door, paws scraping glass, its gaze unwavering, as if willing him to move. Noah frowned, unease curling in his gut. Strays weren't uncommon in Willow Creek, but this was no aimless wanderer. The dog wasn't skittish or lost. It moved with purpose, its barks not pleas for food, but a call to action. Behind him, the few passengers stirred, their murmurs breaking the silence. A man in a worn jacket snapped, "Hurry up, driver, it's late." A woman near the back sighed, rubbing her hands for warmth, muttering about the cold. Noah glanced at the rearview mirror, their impatience a familiar weight. But the dog's eyes held him, bright and unyielding, like they saw something he didn't. The collie barked again, sharper, then darted a few steps toward a dark alley. Beside the stop, pausing to look back, its tail low but steady. It was leading, not begging, demanding he follow. Noah's fingers tightened on the wheel, his mind wrestling with the rules, stay with the bus, keep the schedule, avoid trouble. But his instincts whispered something else, a pull he couldn't name, as if ignoring this moment would leave a mark he'd never erase. The passengers grew louder, a woman's voice cutting through, "Just drive, we're freezing." Noah bit his lip, torn between duty and the strange certainty that the dog knew something vital. He thought of Lila, his sister, how he'd failed to save her, how he'd vowed never to hesitate again when life hung in the balance. "Sorry, folks," he called over his shoulder, voice firm despite the tremor in his chest. "I need to check something, won't be long." Before the protest could swell, he opened the door and stepped into the biting November air. The wind stung his face, tugging at his thin jacket as he followed the dog, its small form a beacon in the gloom. The collie didn't hesitate, trotting toward the alley with a steady gait, pausing only to ensure Noah was behind. The passengers' grumbles faded, replaced by the crunch of gravel under his boots and the distant howl of wind through the alley's narrow walls. Noah's heart pounded, not from the cold but from a growing sense that he was crossing a line, leaving the safety of routine for something unknown. The dog stopped at the alley's mouth, its ears pricked, eyes fixed on the shadows ahead. Noah slowed, his breath visible in the chill, the smell of damp trash and decay thick in the air. The alley was a forgotten crease between crumbling brick buildings, unlit, unwelcoming, a place where trouble hid. He hesitated, logic urging him to turn back. But the collie's gaze held him, its intensity a silent promise that this was no mistake. Another bark, softer now, almost a whine, and the dog took a step forward, urging him deeper. Noah's mind flashed to the photo of Lila on the dashboard, her smile a reminder of moments lost to inaction. He couldn't shake the feeling that this dog was more than a stray, that its presence was a chance to redeem something he'd buried long ago. His boots splashed through a puddle as he moved into the alley, the dog leading with quiet determination. The darkness swallowed the street lamp's light, leaving only the faint glint of the collie's fur to guide him. Noah's hands clenched, in his pockets, the cold seeping into his bones, but he kept going, driven by a conviction he didn't fully understand. The dog stopped abruptly, its head low, sniffing the ground. A faint sound reached Noah, a weak moan, barely audible over the wind, like a breath struggling to hold on. His stomach dropped, his steps quickening as the dog sprinted forward, stopping beside a crumpled figure on the cold cement. Noah's breath caught, his knees hitting the ground as he saw her, an elderly woman, her silver hair tangled, her body trembling in the grip of a seizure. Her eyes rolled back, foam at her lips, her hands twitching helplessly. "Oh God," Noah whispered, his voice shaking as he fumbled for his phone. The dog whined, nudging the woman's arm, its eyes darting to Noah, pleading for him to act. He dialed 911, his voice steady despite the panic. "Elderly woman, seizure, alley behind North Creek, stop, hurry." The operator's calm instructions grounded him. "Stay with her, keep her safe, help's coming." Noah stripped off his jacket, folding it under her head to cushion it, his hands moving on instinct from a first aid course he'd taken years ago. The dog stayed close, its warmth a quiet anchor in the chaos, its presence a reminder that he wasn't alone. The woman's convulsions slowed, her breathing ragged but present. Noah leaned closer, checking her pulse, faint but there. The dog's whines softened, its nose brushing the woman's hand as if willing her to hold on. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder, cutting through the night's heavy silence. Noah looked at the collie, its eyes still fixed on the woman, and felt a shift inside him, a crack in the wall he'd built around his heart. This wasn't just a stray, it was a messenger, and he'd answered its call. The alley, the cold, the rules he'd broken, none of it mattered now. He'd stepped into something bigger, something that felt like fate, and there was no going back. Noah Carter knelt beside the convulsing elderly woman in the dark alley, the border collie's urgent whines anchoring him as he pressed his jacket under her head. The cold cement bit into his knees, the air thick with the stench of damp trash, and the faint metallic tang of rain. The woman's seizures eased slightly, her breath shallow but persistent, her silver hair matted against her pale face. Noah's phone glowed in his hand, the 911 operator's voice a lifeline. "Ambulance is 3 minutes out, keep her stable, don't move her." The collie, its white and black fur slick with rain, stayed close, nudging the woman's limp hand, its eyes flicking between her and Noah with a desperate intensity. The dog's barks had stopped, replaced by soft, rhythmic whines, as if it knew the worst was over but the danger wasn't gone. Noah's heart raced, adrenaline sharpening his senses, the alley's shadows seeming to pulse with the weight of the moment. Back on the bus, the passengers' voices grew louder, their complaints spilling through the open door. "What's taking so long? We're late, just a damn dog." Noah ignored them, his focus locked on the woman, her pulse faint under his fingers. The collie's gaze held him, its eyes bright against the gloom, not pleading for itself but for her. A silent command to act, to choose, to step beyond the safety of his routine. Noah's mind churned, the rules of his job clashing with the pull of his instincts. He was a driver, not a hero, trained to follow schedules, not to chase strays into alleys. But the dog's presence was no accident, its urgency a call he couldn't dismiss. He thought of Lila, his sister, lost to a moment he couldn't change, her absence a wound that had shaped his life. If he turned back now, if he left this woman, to fate he'd carry another regret, heavier than the last. The collie darted toward the alley's entrance, pausing to look back, its tail low but steady, urging Noah to follow deeper into the unknown. The passengers' shouts grew sharper. "Drive already, you're holding us up." Noah's jaw tightened, his hands trembling as he checked the woman's breathing again. The dog's eyes burned into him, a challenge, a trust, a belief that he was more than the man who drove in circles. He stood, his voice cutting through the night. "Folks, I've got an emergency, stay put, I'll be back." The protests erupted, but he shut the bus door, the click final, a line crossed. The collie led him a few steps further, stopping beside. A tattered handbag spilled on the ground, its contents scattered. A pill bottle, a cracked phone, a faded photo of the woman with the same dog. Noah's chest tightened, the pieces clicking together. This wasn't a stray, it was hers, her guardian, her savior. The dog whined again, nudging the photo as if to say, "She needs you now." Noah's mind flashed to the depot, the supervisors. Stern-faced the rulebook he was breaking. No driver leaves the vehicle with passengers aboard. He could lose his job, his stability, the fragile order he'd built to keep the world at bay. But the woman's faint moans pulled him back. Her life. hanging on the thread of his choice. The collie sat beside her, its warmth a quiet strength, its trust in Noah absolute. He knelt again, checking her airway, his hands steady despite the fear clawing at him. The sirens grew louder, red and blue lights flashing at the alley's mouth. But Noah felt the weight of the dog's gaze, its belief that he'd made the right call. He thought of Lila's smile, how he'd failed to save her, how he'd spent a decade avoiding risks to protect himself from pain. This moment was different, a chance to act, to matter, to be the man he'd stopped believing he could be. The collie's ears twitched, its head turning toward the approaching paramedics. But it didn't move from the woman's side, its loyalty a mirror to Noah's growing resolve. He spoke softly to her. "Hang on. Help's here. You're not alone." The dog's tail gave a single wag, a small gesture that felt like approval, like partnership. The paramedics rushed in, their voices sharp and efficient, male, late 60s, seizure, stable but critical. Noah stepped back, giving them space, but the collie stayed, its eyes never leaving the woman. A paramedic glanced at Noah. "You called this. You know her." Noah shook his head. "The dog brought me, led me right to her." The medic's eyes widened, glancing at the collie. "Damn, that's something." Noah's throat tightened, the weight of what he'd done sinking in. He'd left his bus, his passengers, his rules, all for a dog's cry in the night. The passenger's anger waited for him, the supervisor's reprimand loomed, but the woman's life was intact because he'd listened. The collie looked at him, its gaze softer now, as if it knew the cost of his choice. Noah's hands shook, not from cold, but from the realization that he'd stepped into something bigger than himself. The paramedics lifted the woman onto a stretcher, her breathing steadier, her face less pale. The dog followed, its steps slow but deliberate, refusing to leave her side. Noah watched, his heart heavy with a strange mix of relief and dread. He'd answered the call, but the consequences were coming, and he wasn't sure he was ready. The alley felt smaller now, the shadows less threatening, but Noah knew this was only the beginning. The collie's bark had shattered his world, and, whatever came next, he couldn't go back to the man he'd been. The paramedics called to him, "You coming with us? We need details." Noah nodded, glancing at the bus, its headlights cutting through the mist, the passengers' silhouettes restless inside. He'd face them soon, but for now, he followed the dog, its quiet strength guiding him toward a path he'd never planned, to walk. Noah Carter stepped away from the elderly woman as the paramedics secured her on the stretcher, their movements swift and practiced in the dim alley behind Willow Creek's northernmost bus stop. The border collie, its wet fur clinging to its small frame, stayed close to the woman, its eyes tracking every motion with a quiet intensity that made Noah's chest ache. The siren's wail softened as the ambulance idled, red and blue lights painting the brick walls in fractured bursts. Noah's breath fogged in the cold, his jacket still crumpled beneath the woman's head, now replaced by a paramedic's foam. "Brace!" The collie whined softly, nudging the woman's hand as it hung limp off the stretcher, a gesture so tender it rooted Noah to the spot. The paramedic, a woman with a clipped voice, glanced at him. "You're the one who called, you know." "Her name?" Noah shook his head, voice low. "No, the dog led me here. I don't know her." The medic's eyes flicked to the collie, then back to Noah, her expression softening. "That's one hell of a dog you riding with us." Noah hesitated, his gaze drifting to the bus, its headlights cutting through the mist, the passengers' silhouettes shifting impatiently inside. The rules screamed at him, never leave the vehicle, never abandon your route, but the dog's gaze held him, its trust a weight he couldn't shake. He nodded. "I'll come. Let me secure the bus." He jogged back, the gravel crunching under his boots, the passengers' complaints hitting him as he opened the door. "What the hell, man, you left us here, it's freezing." Noah raised a hand, voice steady. "Emergency, someone's hurt, I'm locking up, another driver's on the way." He ignored their protests, grabbed his keys and locked the bus, the click of the door a final severance from the life he'd known. The collie waited at the ambulance, its ears pricked, as if it knew Noah's choice was more than a moment. It was a crossing, a step into a world where routine no longer held sway. He climbed into the ambulance, the dog leaping in beside him, curling up near the stretcher, its nose brushing the woman's fingers. The door slammed shut, the vehicle lurching forward, and Noah felt the ground shift beneath him, not just the road, but something deeper, a threshold he'd passed without fully understanding. The paramedics worked, checking vitals, speaking. In clipped terms, seizure, likely epilepsy, stable for now. Noah sat quietly, his hands clasped, the collie's warmth against his leg a strange comfort. He thought of Lila, his sister, her laughter lost to a night he couldn't change, and now here he was chasing a dog's cry to save a stranger. The ambulance's sterile light cast shadows on the woman's face, her features soft but worn, like someone who'd carried more than her share of burdens. The collie's eyes never left her, its loyalty a mirror to something Noah had buried long ago. A need to protect, to connect, to matter. The hospital loomed ahead, its white walls stark against the night, and as the stretcher rolled out, the dog followed, its steps sure despite the chaos. Noah trailed behind, his boots heavy on the tile floor, the emergency room's buzz a stark contrast to the alley's silence. Nurses moved in, taking the woman, Clara Hensley, a chart revealed, to a bay for observation. The collie tried to follow, but a nurse stopped it. "No pets inside, sir. You'll need to keep him out here." Noah knelt, his hand on the dog's damp fur. "It's okay, we'll wait, we're not leaving her." The dog's eyes met his, a flicker of understanding passing between them, and it settled by his feet, its body pressed against his leg. The waiting room was cold, the chairs hard, the air thick with antiseptic and worry. Noah's phone buzzed, a text from his supervisor where, "Are you passengers reported you left the bus? Call me now." His stomach sank, the consequences of his choice crashing down, a formal warning, maybe suspension or worse. He silenced the phone, his eyes on the collie, its head resting on his shoe, its breathing steady, trusting. He thought of the alley, the woman's trembling hands, the dog's unwavering gaze, and knew he'd do it again, rules be damned. A nurse approached. "You the one who found Clara? She's stable, likely a seizure from missed medication. You saved her life." Noah shook his head. "Not me, him," nodding at the collie. The nurse smiled. "What's his name?" Noah paused, realizing he didn't know, but a tag on the dog's collar glinted. Scout. The name fit, a guide, a sentinel, a small creature who'd pulled him into this moment. Scout's ears twitched at his name, his eyes lifting to Noah's, as if acknowledging their partnership. Noah's mind raced, the weight of what he'd done settling in. He'd left his bus, his job, his carefully built solitude, all for a dog's cry and a stranger's life. The hospital's hum faded, replaced by the memory of Lila's voice. "You're braver than you think, Noah. Don't hide forever." He hadn't been brave then, but tonight he'd chosen differently. Scout's warmth grounded him, a reminder that this wasn't just a rescue, it was a beginning, a step into a life where he couldn't hide anymore. The nurse returned. "Clara's awake. She's asking for her dog. You can bring him in for a minute." Noah stood, his legs shaky, and Scout leapt up, tail wagging, as if he'd been waiting for this. They walked to Clara's room, the beeping monitors soft, her eyes bright despite her frailty. She reached for Scout, her voice weak. "My boy, you found help, didn't you?" Noah's throat tightened, the bond between them a quiet force, a love that needed no words. Clara looked at him. "Thank you, you listened to him. Not everyone would." Noah nodded, unable to speak, the weight of her gratitude sinking deep. He'd crossed a line tonight, not just into the alley, but into a world where he couldn't stay. Invisible, where Scout's bark had called him to be more. As they left the room, Scout by his side, Noah felt the hospital's walls close in, the reality of his job, his choices, waiting outside. But Scout's steady steps beside him were a promise, a guide into whatever came next. Noah Carter stood in the sterile hallway of Willow Creek Hospital, the border collie Scout, pressed against his leg, its warmth a quiet anchor in the chaos of the night. The clock above the nurse's station read 1:15 a.m., the fluorescent lights casting stark shadows on the tiled floor. Clara Hensley, the elderly woman Scout had led him to save, rested in a room nearby, her seizures stabilized, her frail hand clutching Scout's collar during their brief visit. Noah's heart still raced, the adrenaline of the alley rescue giving way to a heavy dread as his phone buzzed again. Another missed call from his supervisor. The words of the text seared in his mind. "Report to the depot immediately. You left passengers stranded." The weight of his choice to follow Scout into the dark pressed down, threatening to crush the fragile courage he'd found. Scout's eyes, bright and steady, looked up at him, not with judgment, but with a trust that made Noah's chest ache. The nurse, Emily, a woman in her late 20s with kind eyes and a quick smile, approached, her clipboard tucked under her arm. "You're still here. Clara's asking for you and Scout again. She's worried about him." Noah nodded, his throat tight, and followed her, Scout trotting beside him, his tags jingling softly. In Clara's room, the monitors beeped steadily, her face pale but alive, her eyes lighting up as Scout leapt onto the bed, curling against her side. Clara's voice was weak but warm. "My Scout, you're a wonder. You found the right man tonight." She looked at Noah, her gaze piercing. "You don't know what you've done, do you? Not just for me, but for him." Noah shifted, unsure. "I just followed him, ma'am. He did the rest." Clara shook her head, her hand stroking Scout's damp fur. "No, you listened, you chose to act. That's rare," she explained, her words slow but deliberate. "Scout's been with me 5 years, trained to sense my seizures. He's saved me before, but tonight he chose you. That means something." Noah's mind reeled. The idea that a dog could choose him, a man who'd spent a decade hiding from connection, felt impossible. Clara's eyes softened. "I live alone. No family. Scout's all I've got. He's my eyes, my heart, my reason to keep going." Noah thought of Lila, his sister, how her loss had left him adrift, and saw in Clara a mirror of his own solitude, but also a strength he'd forgotten. Scout whined softly, nudging Clara's hand, then looking at Noah, as if bridging their lives with his quiet presence. Emily, standing by the door, spoke up. "I've seen service dogs before, but Scout's something else. He knew exactly who to trust. You should be proud." Noah's face warmed, pride mingling with guilt, his job hanging by a thread, his life upended by a single bark. Clara reached for his hand, her grip surprisingly firm. "I need a favor. Scout can't stay here, and I'll be in for a while. Can you watch him, just until I'm back on my feet?" Noah froze, the responsibility daunting. His apartment a place of silence, not built for a dog's energy, his life too rigid for such a change. But Scout's eyes met his, steady, expectant, and Noah felt Lila's voice echo, "Don't hide forever." He nodded, voice low. "I'll take care of him, I promise." Clara's smile was a gift. "Thank you, Noah. You're a good man. Don't let anyone tell you different." Emily offered to help. "I can get you some supplies, food, a leash. I've got a dog myself. I know the drill." Noah thanked her, his mind spinning, the hospital's hum fading as he processed the shift in his world. Scout hopped off the bed, sitting by Noah's feet, his warmth a reminder of the bond forming between them. As they left the room, Emily handed him a bag of dog food and a spare leash, her voice gentle. "You're doing a good thing, Noah. Call me if you need tips. I'm at the hospital most nights." Noah took her number, grateful for her kindness, sensing, in her an ally, someone who saw the same spark in Scout that he was beginning to feel. Back in the waiting room, Noah sat, Scout curling up beside him, his head resting on Noah's knee. The phone buzzed again, his supervisor's name flashing, but Noah ignored it, his focus on Scout's steady breathing. Clara's words echoed, "He chose you," a truth that both terrified and grounded him. He'd never had a pet, never wanted the mess, the noise, the vulnerability of caring for another life. But Scout wasn't just a dog. He was a guide, a mentor, in a small furry form, teaching Noah to trust his instincts, to step beyond the walls he'd built. The hospital's quiet settled around them, the night stretching on, but Noah felt a spark of purpose, faint but real. He thought of his apartment, its silence waiting to be broken, and wondered how Scout would fit into a life so carefully stripped of color. Emily's voice broke his thoughts. "Visiting hours are over, but you can come back tomorrow. Clara will want to see you both." Noah stood, Scout rising with him, their steps synced as they headed for the exit. The night air was sharp, the hospital's glow fading behind them. Noah's bus was gone, towed to the depot, his job in jeopardy, but Scout's presence beside him was a quiet promise. He hailed a cab, Scout hopping in without hesitation, his eyes bright under the streetlights. As they rode, Noah's hand rested on Scout's back, the dog's warmth seeping into him, a reminder that he'd crossed a threshold, not just into an alley, but into a life where he couldn't stay numb. Clara's trust, Emily's support, Scout's loyalty. They were threads weaving a new path, one he wasn't ready for but couldn't turn away from. The cab pulled up to his apartment, the building's cracked facade looming in the dark. Noah paid the driver, his heart heavy but resolute, Scout's leash in his hand, a symbol of a promise he meant to keep. Noah Carter stood in his sparse apartment, the dim light of a single bulb casting long shadows across the bare walls, as Scout, the border collie, sniffed cautiously at the worn linoleum floor. It was 2:30 a.m., the silence of Willow Creek broken only by the faint drip of a leaky faucet and Scout's soft paws padding across the room. Noah's phone sat on the counter, its screen dark but heavy with the weight of 6 missed calls from his supervisor, each one a reminder of the bus he'd abandoned to save Clara Hensley. The depot had left a voicemail, report at 8 a.m., disciplinary meeting, bring your badge. Noah's stomach churned, the rules he'd broken flashing in his mind. No driver leaves passengers, no deviations from the route. His job, the one constant in his carefully ordered life, hung by a thread, and with it the stability that kept his grief for Lila, his sister, at bay. Scout paused by the armchair, his bright eyes meeting Noah's, a quiet trust that both grounded and unnerved him. Clara's plea to care for Scout echoed, just until I'm back on my feet, but the responsibility felt like a boulder, heavy with demands Noah wasn't sure he could meet. His apartment was no place for a dog, no yard, no toys. Just a small space built for solitude, not the boundless energy of a border collie. He set out a bowl of water and some kibble from the bag Emily had given him, but Scout only sniffed it, then curled up by the door, as if waiting for Clara. Noah sank into the armchair, his hands rough from years of gripping the wheel, now clutching. The leash like a lifeline. The temptation to call the hospital, to say he couldn't do this, to hand Scout to someone better suited, gnawed at him. He'd saved Clara, hadn't he? That was enough. He wasn't built for more. But Scout's steady gaze held him, a challenge to be more than the man who hid from life. Morning came too soon. The sky gray as Noah dressed for the depot. Scout watching from the corner, his tail still. Noah clipped the leash. We'll figure this out, buddy, I promised her. The walk to the depot was tense, Scout's energy pulling. At the leash, his nose darting to every scent, a stark contrast to Noah's heavy steps. At the depot, the supervisor, Mr. Hargrove, waited, his face stern. You left a bus full of passengers, Noah. For a dog, you've got one chance to explain. Noah's voice was low. A woman was dying. The dog led me to her. I called 911. I saved her life. Hargrove's eyes narrowed. Rules are rules. You're on probation. One more slip, you're out. Noah nodded, the warning a cold weight, his livelihood teetering. Back at the apartment, Scout's presence was a constant challenge, his pacing, his whines, his need for attention clashing with Noah's need for order. The temptation to withdraw grew, to retreat to the silence he knew, to avoid the mess of caring. He called Emily, his voice shaky. I don't know if I can do this, Scouts. Too much, I'm not cut out for it. Emily's tone was gentle. Give it time, Noah. He's grieving for Clara. He needs you as much as you need him. Her words stirred something, a flicker of Lila's voice. You're braver than you think. Noah took Scout to the park, hoping exercise would help, but the dog's energy was relentless, chasing squirrels, tugging at the leash, drawing stares from passers-by. A woman snapped, "Keep that dog under control," her words cutting deeper than they should, feeding Noah's doubt. The park, once a place he'd passed without notice, now felt like a battlefield, each moment with Scout a test of his patience, his worth. He sat on a bench, Scout panting beside him, and wondered if he'd made a mistake, if he should call animal control, let someone else take the burden. But Scout's head rested on his knee, his warmth a quiet plea, and Noah's resolve wavered. He thought of Clara's trust, her frail hand on Scout's fur, and felt the pull to keep going, to prove he could be more. The days blurred, each one a struggle, Scout's needs clashing with Noah's routine, the probation at work looming like a storm. He missed a shift to walk Scout, earning a sharp email from Hargrove, final warning, Carter. The temptation to give up was constant, to return to the life where no one needed him, where pain couldn't reach him. But Emily stopped by, bringing a chew toy, her smile bright. "You're doing better than you think. Look at him. He's starting to trust you." Scout chewed the toy, his eyes softer, and Noah felt a spark of hope, faint but real. He took Scout back to the hospital, Clara's face lighting up as Scout leapt onto her bed, her laughter a balm to Noah's frayed nerves. "You're a good man, Noah," she said. "Don't let the world tell you different." Her words were a lifeline, but the challenges didn't ease. Scout's energy, the job's demands, the whispers of doubt that he wasn't enough. Noah stood at a crossroads, the safety of his old life calling. Its silence tempting, but Scout's presence, Clara's trust, Emily's encouragement. They were a new path, one that scared him, but felt alive. Each night, Scout slept closer, his warmth seeping into Noah's guarded heart, a reminder that running wasn't the answer. The park became their ritual, Scout's joy in chasing a ball slowly teaching Noah to smile, to feel the world again. But the probation hung over him, the fear of losing his job, his home, his fragile stability, a constant threat. He looked at Scout, sleeping now, his small body curled against the armchair, and knew he couldn't go back, not fully, not after seeing what lay beyond his walls. The temptation to quit was strong, but Scout's trust, Clara's gratitude, they were stronger, pulling him forward one uncertain step at a time. Noah Carter sat on a splintered bench in Willow Creek's rundown park, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows as Scout, the border collie, lay at his feet, his usual energy dulled by the weight of the day. It was a week since Noah's probation. At the depot, his job as a bus driver hanging by a thread after he'd left his route to save Clara Hensley, led by Scout's desperate barks. The air smelled of damp grass and distant exhaust, the park's faded swings creaking in the breeze. Noah's phone was silent now, but the memory of his supervisor's final warning burned. "One more mistake, Carter, and you're done." Scout's leash lay loose in his hand, the dog's presence both a comfort and a burden, a reminder of the promise he'd made to Clara to care for him while she recovered. Noah's apartment, once a fortress of solitude, was now a mess of chewed shoes and scattered kibble, Scout's energy clashing with his need for order. He'd tried, taken Scout on walks, visited Clara at the hospital, leaned on Emily's advice, but the challenges were relentless, each day testing his resolve to keep going. The park had become their refuge, a place where Scout could run. But today everything unraveled. Earlier Noah had let Scout off the leash, hoping to tire him out, but the dog, chasing a squirrel, had darted toward a young girl on a tricycle, her scream piercing as Scout's paws skidded near her. The girl's mother, furious, had shouted, "Control your mutt, it's dangerous," her words drawing a small crowd. Noah had leashed Scout quickly, apologizing. "He's not dangerous, just excited." But the mother's glare lingered, her threat to call animal control a knife to his heart. Now as the park emptied, the incident replayed in Noah's mind, each word a confirmation of his deepest fear. He wasn't enough, not for Scout, not for Clara, not for the life he'd stumbled into. The girl's scream echoed Lila's last cry the night of the crash, when Noah had been too slow, too helpless to save her. He looked at Scout, his head low, sensing Noah's mood, and felt a wave of doubt so heavy it stole his breath. The town's whispers were growing. He'd heard them at the diner, that driver with the wild dog can't even do his job right. Public opinion was turning, painting Scout as a threat, and Noah as a failure. The temptation to give up, to hand Scout to a shelter, to retreat to the silence of his old life, was overwhelming. His job was at risk, his savings dwindling, his apartment barely a home for a dog like Scout. Clara's trust, Emily's encouragement, they felt like fragile threads against the storm of his inadequacy. He thought of calling the hospital, telling Clara he couldn't do it, that Scout deserved better, but the memory of her frail hand on Scout's fur stopped him. Her words, "You're a good man," now a cruel mockery. Noah's hands shook, the leash slipping to the ground, Scout's eyes lifting to meet his, bright but searching, as if asking what was wrong. The park's quiet was suffocating, the weight of the mother's words dangerous, sinking deep, mirroring Noah's own fear of being unworthy. He'd saved Clara, yes, But at what cost? His job, his peace, his carefully built walls, now crumbling under Scout's boundless need. The depot meeting loomed tomorrow, Hargrove's stern face waiting to judge him, and Noah knew one more complaint, one more misstep could end it all. He stood, pacing, Scout following, his tail low, sensing the fracture in Noah's resolve. The park's trees loomed like sentinels, their branches clawing at the sky, a reflection of the chaos in Noah's heart. He thought of Lila, how he'd failed her, how he'd sworn never to let anyone depend on him again, and now Scout, Clara, even Emily, were pulling him back into a world where failure hurt too much. The idea of animal control returned. A cold solution. They'd find Scout a better home, someone with a yard, with time, with a heart not scarred by loss. Noah's chest tightened, his breath shallow. The park spinning as he sank back onto the bench. Scout whined, nudging his hand. But Noah pulled away, the contact too raw, too real. The mother's face flashed, her anger a verdict, and Noah wondered. If she was right, if Scout was better off without him, if everyone was. The sun dipped lower, the park's shadows swallowing the last light, and Noah felt himself sinking into a darkness he'd fought for years, the kind that whispered he'd never be enough. Scout lay down, his head on Noah's foot, his warmth a faint tether. But Noah's mind was elsewhere, lost in the crash, in Lila's absence, in the life he'd built to avoid this pain. He could walk away, return to driving his empty routes, to nights alone, to a world where no one needed him to be brave. But Scout's quiet whine broke through, a small sound that carried Clara's trust, Emily's belief, the memory of the alley where he'd chosen to act. Noah's eyes stung, his hands clenching, the fight between surrender and perseverance tearing him apart. The park was empty now, the girl and her mother gone, but their judgment lingered, a shadow over Scout's loyalty, over Noah's fragile hope. He looked at the dog, his eyes so like Lila's, full of faith he didn't deserve, and felt the darkness close in, the moment where everything could break. The leash lay in the grass, a symbol of the choice he faced, hold on or let go, fight for Scout or admit defeat. Noah's heart pounded, the weight of his promise to Clara, to himself, threatening to crush him. He didn't know if he could keep going, if he could face the town, the depot, the mirror of his own doubt, but Scout's warmth remained, a silent plea to stay. Noah Carter sat frozen on the park bench in Willow Creek, the fading light of dusk, casting Scout's shadow long and thin across the grass, the border collie's head resting heavily on his foot. The sting of the mother's words from earlier, calling Scout dangerous, echoed in Noah's mind, fueling the darkness that had settled. After the park incident, where Scout's playful chase had terrified a young girl, his phone buzzed in his pocket, another message from his supervisor, depot meeting, 8 a.m. Be prepared to explain yourself, a reminder of the job he risked losing after abandoning his bus to save Clara Hensley. Noah's hands trembled, the leash still on the ground, a symbol of the choice tearing at him, to keep Scout, to honor Clara's trust, or to surrender him to animal control and retreat to the safety of his solitary life. The park was silent now, the swings still, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and the weight of his doubt. Scout's eyes, bright and searching, met his, their quiet faith a painful contrast to the town's growing whispers. That driver with the wild dog can't handle it. Noah's heart ached, the memory of Lila, his sister, lost to a crash he couldn't prevent, merging with the fear that he'd fail Scout, Clara, himself. The temptation to give up was a siren call, promising the numb comfort of his old routines, where no one depended on him, where pain couldn't reach. But Clara's voice broke through, her words from the hospital. Scout chose you. You're a good man. Don't let anyone tell you different. Noah closed his eyes, her frail hand on Scout's. For a vivid image, her trust a lifeline he couldn't ignore. He thought of Emily, the nurse, her gentle encouragement, "You're doing better than you think," and felt a spark of resolve, faint but stubborn, refusing to die. The mother's accusation wasn't the whole story. Noah knew Scout wasn't dangerous. He'd been protecting, not threatening, his instincts sharp but kind. Noah's mind shifted, a new thought cutting through the fog. What if there was proof? What if he could show the truth? The park had security cameras, old ones, but they might have caught the moment, might show Scout's intent. It was a long shot, a risk, but Noah felt the stirrings of a leap, a choice to fight for Scout, to prove his worth, not just to the town but to himself. He stood, Scout rising with him, tail wagging faintly as if sensing the shift. Noah's legs were shaky, but he moved, driven by a purpose he hadn't felt since the alley. He called Emily, his voice unsteady. "The park cameras. Do you know who runs them? I need to see something." Emily's tone was warm. "I'll ask around. Meet me at the hospital. I'm on shift." Noah leashed Scout, their steps quick as they left the park, the dusk deepening into night. At the hospital, Emily met them in the waiting room, her eyes bright. "Park's managed by the town council. I called a friend. They'll pull the footage, but you'll need to go to the office tomorrow." Noah nodded, gratitude mixing with fear, the leap growing real, public, exposing him to scrutiny. He visited. "Clara," Scout leaping onto her bed, her laughter soft but strong. "You're still here, Noah. That's more than most would do." She shared a story, her voice steady. "Scout once saved me from a fall, stayed by me all night. He's got a heart bigger than most people. Don't let anyone make you doubt him." Her words were a torch, lighting the path Noah needed to walk. He left the hospital, Scout by his side, and spent a sleepless night preparing, drafting a statement, picturing the footage, praying it would show the truth. Morning came. The depot meeting first. Hargrove's face cold as Noah explained, "I saved a life. I'd do it again, but I'm trying to make this right." Hargrove's response was curt. "We'll see. Get me proof you're not a liability." Noah left, heart pounding, and headed to the town council office, Scout waiting outside, his presence a quiet strength. The clerk, a tired man with thick glasses, pulled the footage, grainy but clear. Scout darting not at the girl but at a runaway skateboard, stopping it before it hit her. Noah's breath caught, relief flooding him, the truth undeniable. He requested a copy, his voice firm. "I need this to clear his name, to show he's no threat." The clerk nodded, impressed. "I'll send it to the community board. You've got something special there." Noah took the footage to the local paper, a small office on Main Street, and shared his story. "I'm Noah Carter. This dog saved a woman's life. He's not dangerous. He's a hero." The editor listened, moved. "We'll run it. Get the word out." Noah's leap was public now. His name, Scout's story, exposed to Willow Creek's judgment. He felt raw, vulnerable, but Scout's warmth as they walked home was a shield, a reminder of why he'd fought. The article appeared online that night, the video spreading, comments pouring in. Not all kind, but many supportive. "That dog's amazing. That driver's got guts." Noah read them, his heart swelling, the darkness of the park bench fading. He'd risked his job, his privacy, his carefully guarded solitude. But Scout's tail wagged, his eyes bright, and Noah knew he'd made the right choice. The depot called, Hargrove's tone softer. "Saw the article. We'll talk, but you're not out yet." Noah exhaled, the leap not over but alive, a bridge to a life where he could face the world, not hide from it. Scout curled up beside him, his warmth a promise, and Noah felt Lila's smile, her voice, "You're braver than you think," now a truth he was beginning to believe. Noah Carter walked through the sliding doors of Willow Creek Hospital, Scout's leash loose in his hand. The border collie's steps light and eager, as they headed toward Clara Hensley's room. The morning sun filtered through the windows, casting a warm glow on the tiled floor, a stark contrast to the darkness Noah had faced days ago when the town branded Scout dangerous. The online article and park footage had shifted the narrative, painting Scout as a hero and Noah as the man who'd risked everything to save Clara, though his job at the depot still teetered on probation. Noah's heart felt lighter, the leap of faith in defending Scout now a foundation, but he knew the path ahead needed more than just him and a dog. Clara's smile greeted them, her face stronger despite the hospital bed, Scout leaping up to nuzzle her, his tail a blur. "You've done wonders, Noah," she said, her voice steady. "I saw the article. You gave Scout a voice." Noah nodded, warmth spreading in his chest, but the weight of her trust lingered. Scout was still his responsibility, and Clara's recovery was slow. Emily, the nurse who'd become a quiet ally, joined them, her clipboard tucked away, her eyes bright with an idea. "I've been thinking, Scouts are natural with patients, he calms them. Have you considered therapy work? Noah blinked. The concept foreign. His life as a bus driver built on solitude, not connection. But Scout's gentle nudge against Clara's hand sparked curiosity. Emily explained, therapy dogs visit hospitals, lift spirits, reduce stress. Scouts, already doing it just by being here. Clara's eyes lit up. He'd be perfect, Noah. He's got a gift and you've got the heart to guide him. Noah hesitated, the idea daunting. His job unstable, his apartment barely a home. But Scout's gaze met his, steady, trusting, urging him to build on the courage he'd found. Emily offered to help. I know a trainer. I can get you started. We could make this a program here. Noah felt a shift, not just a task, but a team forming. Clara's wisdom, Emily's enthusiasm, Scout's instinct, each a piece of something bigger. He agreed. Let's try it. His voice firmer than he felt, and Emily clapped. I'll set up a meeting with the hospital board. We'll pitch it together. Over the next days, Noah and Scout visited the hospital regularly, their presence a quiet. A ripple, patients smiling as Scout sat by their beds, his warmth easing their fears. An elderly man, recovering from surgery, stroked Scout's fur, his eyes misty. Reminds me of my old dog. Thank you for bringing him. A young boy, anxious before a procedure, giggled as Scout nudged a ball to him, the room's tension dissolving. Noah watched, amazed. Scout's gift undeniable, but it was Emily's guidance that shaped it. Her notes on animal therapy, her calls to the trainer, her belief that Noah could lead this. She introduced him to Dr. Patel, the hospital's head of patient services. A man with a kind but skeptical face. We've never had a therapy dog program. It's a big commitment. Why you? Noah swallowed, his voice steady. Scout saved Clara's life. He's saving others just by being here. I'm learning to help him do it. Emily backed him. I've seen the impact. Patients are calmer, staff too. Noah's dedicated. He's the right fit. Dr. Patel nodded. Let's trial it. 1 month, show me results. Noah's heart raced, a purpose forming but also a challenge, balancing Scout's training, hospital visits, and his precarious job. At the depot, Hargrove was less hostile, the article softening his stance. Keep your nose clean, Carter, I'm watching. Noah worked double shifts, exhaustion creeping in, but Scout's energy kept him moving, their park walks now training sessions, teaching commands, sit, stay, calm. Emily joined them, her dog, a golden retriever, playing with Scout. Her laughter a balm to Noah's stress. You're a natural, Noah. You and Scout are a team. Clara, stronger now, shared stories of Scout's past, how he'd alerted neighbors to her falls, how he'd slept by her side through lonely nights. Her words a blueprint for Noah's role. Be his anchor. He'll show you the way. The hospital trial began, Noah and Scout visiting daily, Emily coordinating schedules, Dr. Patel observing. Patients requested Scout, nurses noted calmer wards, and Noah felt a belonging he'd never known, his solitary life cracking open. A woman recovering from a stroke held Scout's paw, her voice soft. He makes me feel safe, thank you. Noah's throat tightened, Lila's memory stirring, her belief in his bravery now alive in these moments. Emily suggested a community event. Let's show the town what Scout can do, raise support for the program. Noah agreed, nervous but driven, the team growing as Clara offered to speak, her recovery a testament to Scout's impact. Volunteers joined, a retired teacher, a vet tech, each drawn to Scout's story, to Noah's quiet resolve. The event took shape, a hospital courtyard gathering, Scout demonstrating his skills, patients sharing stories, Clara's voice carrying, this dog and this man saved my life, they're changing ours. Noah stood beside her, Scout at his feet, Emily's hand brushing his in quiet support, the crowd's applause a wave of acceptance. The depot called, Hargrove's tone neutral. Heard about your hospital thing. Don't let it interfere with work. Noah promised it wouldn't, but the program was his lifeline now, Scout's purpose his own. The team met weekly, planning visits, training, fundraising, Emily's organization, Clara's inspiration, Noah's steady presence binding them. Scout thrived, his tail wagging as he greeted patients, his trust in Noah absolute. Noah looked at his team at Scout and felt Lila's smile, her voice, you're not alone anymore. The hospital board extended the trial, Dr. Patel impressed. You're building something real. Keep going. Noah nodded, the weight of his old life lifting. The team a new home, Scout the heart of it. Each step was hard, the depot's shadow looming. But the team's belief, Scout's warmth carried him forward. A man no longer driving in circles, but walking a path with others. Noah Carter stood in the bustling corridor of Willow Creek Hospital. Scout's leash a familiar weight in his hand as the border collie's ears twitched, sensing the rhythm of the ward. Weeks had passed since the therapy dog program began. Noah, Emily and Clara building a team that transformed the hospital's atmosphere. Scout's visits bringing smiles to patients and calm to tense rooms. The sun streamed through the windows, the air sharp with antiseptic, but warm with purpose as Noah and Scout moved toward their next visit. Noah's job at the depot remained on shaky ground, Hargrove's warnings a constant shadow, but the program, Scout's impact and the team's support gave Noah a strength he'd never known. Clara, now stronger but still hospitalized, had become a guiding light, her stories of Scout's loyalty fueling Noah's resolve. Emily's quiet encouragement, her hand brushing his during planning sessions, anchored him, while the community's growing support, sparked by the article and hospital event, made Scout a local hero. Yet, the weight of responsibility pressed. On Noah, his promise to Clara to care for Scout, the program's demands and the depot's scrutiny stretching him thin. As they entered the ward, Scout's tail wagged, his eyes bright, but a sudden shift in his demeanor stopped Noah cold. Scout froze, his nose twitching, a low whine escaping as he tugged toward a room at the corridor's end. Not their scheduled. Stop. Noah's heart quickened, recognizing the same urgency from the alley, Scout's instinct sharper than any human sense. Emily nearby noticed, "What's wrong? Is he okay?" Noah's voice was tense. He's sensing something, like with Clara. "We need to check." They followed Scout, his steps urgent, to a room where a middle-aged man, Mr. Ellis, lay recovering from heart surgery, his chart noting stability, but fragility. Scout whined louder, pawing at the bed, his eyes locked on the man, whose face was pale, his breathing shallow. Noah's gut twisted, the monitors beeping steadily, but something off, a faint irregularity he couldn't place. Emily checked the chart, her brow furrowing. He's fine according to this, but Scout's never wrong. Noah knelt beside Scout, his hand on the dog's trembling back. "What is it, buddy? Show me." Scout nudged Mr. Ellis's hand, then looked at Noah, a plea so clear it cut through doubt. Noah stood, voice firm. "Get a doctor now, something's wrong." Emily sprinted to the nurse's station, her call sharp. "Dr. Patel, room 204, emergency." Noah stayed, Scout's whines a steady rhythm, his warmth a lifeline as Mr. Ellis's eyes fluttered, a faint groan escaping. Noah spoke softly. "Hang on. Help's coming. Scout's got you." The monitors spiked, a sudden arrhythmia flashing, confirming Scout's instinct just as Dr. Patel rushed in. Crash cart move. Nurses swarmed, Noah stepping back but holding Scout close, the dog's eyes never leaving Mr. Ellis. The team worked, defibrillator pads applied, shocks delivered, the room a blur of urgency. Noah's heart pounded, Lila's loss flashing, the helplessness he'd vowed never to feel again, but Scout's presence grounded him, a reminder he'd acted, trusted, chosen. Minutes stretched, the monitors stabilizing, Mr. Ellis's breathing, steadying as Dr. Patel exhaled. "We got him internal clot." Scout caught it before the monitors did. Noah's knees weakened, relief flooding him. Scout's tail wagging faintly as he nudged Mr. Ellis's hand, now responsive. Emily's eyes shone. "Noah, you and Scout saved him. This is huge." Word spread. Nurses whispering, patients asking for Scout. The hospital buzzing with the story of the dog who sensed a crisis no machine detected. Dr. Patel called Noah and Emily to his office, his face serious but warm. "This program's more than a trial now. It's essential. Scout's a miracle. And you, Noah, you're making it work." Noah nodded, throat tight, the validation overwhelming. But a deeper weight settled. Clara's health was faltering, her latest tests showing strain, her time with Scout possibly short. That evening, Noah brought Scout to her room, her smile. "Weak but radiant, my boy. You did it again, didn't you?" She took Noah's hand, her voice soft. "I'm not getting out soon, Noah, maybe not at all. I need you to take Scout, for good. He's yours now." Noah's breath caught, the responsibility immense, his life unready. But Clara's eyes held him. "You're his home, you've proven it. Don't doubt yourself." Tears stung, Noah nodding. "I'll keep him safe, I swear." Clara's hand squeezed. "His. You're saving lives, Noah, not just mine. Don't stop." Scout curled beside her, his warmth a bridge between them, and Noah felt the climax of his journey, not just saving Mr. Ellis, but accepting Scout, fully, as his own. The hospital. Rallied, the program funded, volunteers doubling. Emily's grin infectious. "We're a team, Noah. This is just the start." The depot called, Hargrove's tone grudging. "Heard about the hospital, keep it up, but no more stunts." Noah exhaled, his job safer, but the true victory was here, in Scout's trust, Clara's faith, Emily's partnership. The ward felt alive. Patients sharing stories, a woman saying, "Scout gave me hope," a man adding, "You're a hero, driver." Noah shook his head. It's Scout, not me, but their smiles said otherwise. He thought of Lila, her laughter, her belief in him, now alive in this moment, in Scout's steady gaze. The hospital's hum was a heartbeat. Noah no longer an outsider, but a center, his team a family, Scout the soul. Clara's words echoed, "Don't stop," and Noah knew he wouldn't. The climax, not an end, but a peak, a vow to keep going, to honor Scout's gift, to live the life Lila always saw in him. As he left the ward, Scout by his side, Emily's hand, brushed his a quiet promise, the future uncertain but shared. Noah Carter walked the familiar streets of Willow Creek, Scout's leash a steady weight in his hand, the border collie's tail wagging as they passed the northernmost bus stop where their journey began months ago. The crisp spring air carried the scent of blooming lilacs, a far cry from the cold November night when Scout's bark had shattered Noah's solitary life, leading him to save Clara Hensley. Now, Scout was his, Clara's final gift before her. Heart gave out weeks after the hospital climax, her passing a quiet ache but her trust in Noah, a lasting fire. The therapy dog program had taken root, Scout a hospital mainstay, his visits easing pain, lifting spirits, and Noah, its unlikely leader, no longer just a bus driver, but a man with purpose. His job at the depot had stabilized. Hargrove's gruff, "Approval, you're doing good, Carter, keep it that way." A hard-won victory after probation's shadow. Emily's partnership had grown, her laughter a steady light, their shared work with Scout weaving a bond deeper than words. The town had changed too. Willow Creek embracing Scout as its own, the article and hospital stories turning whispers of doubt into cheers of pride. Noah's apartment, once a barren shell, was now a home. Scout's toys scattered, his bed by the window a testament to a life no longer empty. Each morning, Noah and Scout rode the bus together, a new route approved by the depot, Route 22 now. A mobile response unit, Scout's harness signaling his role as a first responder, ready to sense crises no human could. Passengers greeted them, a grandmother offering Scout a pat. "He's a blessing, driver," a kid asking, "Can he sit with me?" Noah smiled, a warmth he hadn't known since Lila, his sister, whose loss had once defined him but now inspired him. The hospital was their second home, Scout's visits a ritual. Patients like Mr. Ellis saved by Scout's instinct sharing stories. "He gave me a second chance, you both did." Emily met them there, her clipboard swapped for a therapy log, her eyes bright. "We're up to 10 volunteers, Noah, the program's growing." Dr. Patel, once skeptical, now championed them, funding secured, a training center planned, Scout's legacy spreading. Noah's team had expanded, the retired teacher leading workshops, the vet tech handling health checks, Clara's memory in every step, her stories retold to new volunteers. The community rallied, a fundraiser at the park drawing hundreds, Scout prancing through agility demos, kids laughing, adults donating, the town council unveiling a plaque to Scout and Noah, Willow Creek's heroes. Noah's throat tightened, the honor overwhelming, but Scout's nudge grounded him, a reminder of their shared path. His old life, the endless loops of Route 22, the silence of his apartment, felt like a distant dream, replaced by mornings with Scout's eager barks, evenings with Emily's quiet talks, nights planning the program's future. The depot had adapted, Hargrove allowing Noah's shifts to flex around hospital visits, a compromise born of the town's pride. Passengers shared Scout's story, a man saying, "Saw you in the paper, you're changing lives." A woman adding, "Clara would be proud." Noah nodded, her memory a soft ache, her faith in him a beacon. He visited her grave weekly, Scout lying by the stone, as if sensing her presence, Noah whispering, "We're keeping our promise, Clara." The program's impact rippled, a nearby town. Starting its own, Emily training their volunteers, Noah's quiet confidence guiding them. He spoke at a hospital board meeting, his voice steady. "Scout's not just a dog, he's hope, he's proof we can all do more." The applause was humbling, Emily's smile a silent vow. We're in this together. Noah's heart, once guarded, was open, Scout's warmth, Emily's touch, the team's trust filling the void Lila's loss had left. The bus rides were different now, Scout's harness a badge of purpose, passengers asking for updates. How's the hero dog? Any new saves? Noah shared. Scout alerted to a patient's stroke last week, caught it early, saved her. The gasps, the smiles made Route 22 a lifeline, not a loop. Noah's apartment buzzed with life, Emily visiting, Scout chasing a ball, their laughter echoing. She stayed late one night, her hand in his. "You've changed, Noah, you're not hiding anymore." He nodded, Lila's voice in his mind. "You're braver than you think." Now a truth he lived. The program faced challenges, funding dips, volunteer burnout. But Noah's team met them, Emily's plans, the teacher's ideas, Scout's spirit carrying them. A patient's letter arrived. "Scout sat with me when I was scared. You gave me strength." Noah's eyes stinging as he read it to the team. "This is why we do it." The town's support grew, a bakery donating treats for events, a school hosting Scout for a talk, kids cheering as he demonstrated his skills. Noah's solitude was gone, replaced by a community that saw him not as a driver, but as a man who'd answered a dog's call. Scout's health was perfect, the vet text checks confirming he's built for this, Noah, just like you. Nights ended with Scout curled by the armchair, Noah's hand on his fur, the silence now warm, not heavy. Emily's dream, a regional therapy network took shape. Noah, her partner, their vision bold but grounded. The bus, the hospital, the town, they were threads in a tapestry Scout had woven. Noah's life no longer a shadow, but a story. He looked at Scout sleeping now, and felt Lila's smile, Clara's trust, Emily's love. A resolution not of endings, but of beginnings. A life where every bark, every step, was a chance to save, to connect, to live. Noah Carter stood at the podium in Willow Creek's newly opened Animal Rescue Center. The crowd's applause a warm wave, as Scout sat proudly by his side, the border collie's eyes bright under the morning sun. It was the one-year anniversary of that fateful November night, when Scout's bark had pulled Noah from his solitary bus route into an alley to save Clara Hensley, a moment that reshaped his world. The air smelled of fresh paint and blooming jasmine, the center's courtyard alive with families, volunteers, and dogs wagging their tails. A bronze statue of Clara and Scout gleamed behind Noah. Unveiled moments ago, its plaque reading, "In memory of Clara Hensley, whose love and Scout's loyalty inspired a community." Clara's passing had left a void, but her legacy lived in this place, in Scout's work, in Noah's transformed life. The therapy dog program was now a cornerstone of Willow Creek Hospital, Scout its heart, his visits saving lives, lifting spirits, and inspiring a regional network Emily was building, her hand in Noah's a quiet anchor as she stood nearby. Noah's job at the depot had evolved. Route 22 a lifeline where Scout rode as a first responder. His harness a symbol of hope. Passengers sharing stories. My mom met Scout at the hospital. He helped her heal. Hargrove, once stern, now boasted, Carter's. Our star, him and that dog. Noah's apartment, once a silent cage, was a home. Scout's toys scattered. Emily's laughter echoing, their love a steady flame. The town had embraced them, the whispers of doubt replaced by pride. Scout a hero, Noah no longer a shadow, but a leader. He cleared his throat, the microphone amplifying his voice. A year ago I was a driver, alone, lost in my own grief. Then Scout found me, led me to Clara, and showed me what it means to live. The crowd hushed, eyes on him, on Scout, whose tail wagged softly. Noah continued, "Clara taught me trust. Scout taught me courage. This center, this community, it's their gift. A place where every animal, every person can find a second chance." Applause erupted. Emily's smile radiant, Dr. Patel nodding from the front row. The program's success, his pride too. Noah's heart swelled, Lila's memory alive in his words, her belief in his bravery now a truth he embodied. The center was a dream realized, funded by the town's support. The bakery donating treats, the school hosting drives, the council backing Noah's vision after the hospital's triumphs. Scout's therapy work had grown, volunteers training new dogs, a nearby town launching its program, Emily's network taking shape, Noah her partner in every step. The bus rides were a ritual, Scout greeting passengers, a child saying, "He's my hero," an elder adding, "You're ours too, driver." Noah's old life, the endless loops, the silence was gone, replaced by mornings with Scout's eager barks, days at the hospital, nights with Emily planning the future. The center's opening was a celebration, dogs playing in the yard, kids petting Scout, volunteers sharing Clara's story, how one dog changed a town. Noah stepped down, Scout following, as Emily hugged him. "You did it, Noah. You built this." He shook his head. "We did. You, Clara, Scout, all of us." Dr. Patel approached. "The program's regional now, Noah. You're leading it. Keep Scout's spirit alive." Noah nodded, the responsibility no longer daunting but a privilege. Scout's warmth by his side a constant guide. The crowd mingled. A woman whose son Scout had calmed saying, "You gave us hope." A man saved by Scout's alert adding, "Your family now." Noah's throat tightened, the word family a gift. Lila's smile in his mind, Clara's trust in his heart. The center buzzed, a vet tech checking rescue dogs, the retired teacher leading a therapy workshop, the team a tapestry of care. Noah and Scout walked the grounds, the statue gleaming, Clara's face etched in bronze, Scout's likeness forever by her side. Noah knelt, his hand on Scout's fur. "We kept our promise, Clara. We're home." Scout licked his hand, eyes bright, as if agreeing. Emily joined them, her dream of a network growing. "We'll train more dogs, Noah, reach more hospitals. You ready?" He nodded. "I am, with you, with Scout." The day unfolded, music playing, dogs adopted, the community alive with purpose. Noah's phone held messages, a hospital thanking Scout, a town asking for training, proof his new world was vast, connected, alive. Route 22 waited tomorrow, Scout's harness ready, passengers expecting their hero. The depot had changed. Hargrove, planning a community route, Scout's story inspiring it. Noah's nights were full, Emily's touch, Scout's warmth, the center's mission a fire in his soul. He thought of Lila, her laughter, her faith, now a light in every step, Clara's, love in every wag of Scout's tail. The center's gates stayed open, kids running, dogs barking, a new world where no one was alone, where every bark was a call to care. Noah stood by the statue, Scout leaning against him, Emily's hand in his, the crowd's joy a song. He'd been a driver, a man in circles, but Scout had led him here to a life of meaning, of love, of community. The sun dipped, casting a golden glow, and Noah felt whole, not just for himself, but for Lila, for Clara, for every life Scout touched. The center was a beginning, a promise to keep going, to honor the dog who'd saved him, the woman who'd trusted him, the town that had embraced him. Scout's eyes met his, steady, knowing, and Noah smiled, ready for whatever came next. His new world a place where courage, connection, and second chances thrived.